No, I stopped it. much, guys. Well, welcome to Pinewood Studios and to the workshop today with Jason Lanier. I just want to give you a brief overview of what to expect today. And so basically we're going to have a 45-minute start with Jason where he's going to talk and answer questions from yourselves, take a quick coffee break to reset up, and then we're going to do a practical session where he'll get a lot of you involved, helping him set up lights and showing different setups and asking your questions on that side. And then an opportunity as well for a technical demonstration on some of the lighting products and anything else you'd like to run through. So Pinewood Studios, for those of you who haven't been before, is the home of the British film industry. And this room actually is the room when they've finished the rushes each day on Star Wars or James Bond, they'll come in and preview how the shots are looking, realize if they need to reshoot anything or are happy with what they've got. And we're honoured that you've come today. We also have Sony here today officially. So Sony have some really fantastic cashback offers on cameras, and they're also doing 10% on any body or lens except the A7 III, but they are doing A7 Mark III and A9. Hire Camera here doing rental also, and there's lots of us on hand if you've got any technical questions. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce the man himself, and there will be an opportunity in the break to ask any of us about lighting products. But Mr. Jason Lanier, thank you very much.
Are we live on YouTube? We are live. Well, hello on YouTube. Which camera's on me right now? That one or this one? That one. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us live on YouTube. Thank you guys here in London coming to Pinewood Studios. I very much appreciate it. Shout out to my wife and my boys. You guys know I love you, and thank you for letting me pursue my dreams. I am thrilled to be here with you guys today. I have a presentation ready for you. I have a presentation to show you, and then we're going to get into the shooting like Rod said. I also want to put a thank you to Rotolite, guys. Rotolite puts these shows on. This is 3 or 4 years running that we've been able to do this show, and it's an honor to be able to do it. And when sponsors kick in and allow opportunities, it allows people to come for a lot less money and to learn for a lot less, which is one benefit of having a sponsor. So I'm very much grateful to be here with you all today. One thing you'll learn about my presentations is they are very straightforward. There's no BS. If you have a question, ask it. I don't pull punches, and I don't soft pedal it, if you will. If you want to know something, I'll tell you whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. If you want to know if something's going to work for you, I'll tell you good, bad, or otherwise. I will not give you advice that will not serve you well in practical applications. A lot of people talk about a lot of theories of photography and what else to do, and I like to deal in the real world. I like to tell people, you know, most of us were born with 2 decently working eyes, and those eyes should be utilized. We should be using our eyes to create art, to create work, and to not become overly technical. Us dudes can be overly technical, okay? Just all the guys in the crowd, you got to watch that, okay? So what I'm going to show you guys today is some work that we've done, how we did it, and we're going to talk about how I think the industry can embrace this technology that we have coming at us. So without further ado, we're going to show you guys a presentation. Maddie. But guys, the purpose of the presentation today is to actually, this is why I have a presentation, so I have an outline. But we're sitting in Pinewood Studios, where they make all these amazing movies. To be honest with you, I did a lot of videos that got a lot of views a number of years ago. Videos where we put high-speed sync flash up and overpower the sun, and it's a big boom. And they're great for views on YouTube. Other people are now doing those videos that I used to do years ago, and that's great for them. But I am trying to take my photography and my lighting to that next level, to that cinematic level. That's what we're going to show you. Yeah, go ahead and hit it.
That's what I am.
Espen, can you take care of that, honey? All of those on the A7 III? Not even I'm that prolific. No, obviously, all of those were shot primarily within the last, a lot with Maddie. A lot of these were shot in the last year. 98% of those shots were with Rhodolite. 98%. And the point I wanted to make in showing those was how we need to start looking at light. I've said for the longest time in my workshops that the best photographers in the world are the best problem solvers. Right? Why do you think that is? What do you think we have to do as photographers? Next slide, please. What kind of problems do we have to work with when we're out in the photography field? What do we have to do?
Deal with what's going on our surroundings.
Right? What are some of the main things? Now there's clues up on the board, trying to help you guys. But what are some of the main things that we need to look at when we're out there shooting?
Is it where the light is best and where you have to shoot?
Right? We have to look at lighting. We have to look at our composition, right? And there's really two ways to look at lighting, right? There's following the light, and then there's leading the light. Next slide, please. So when we follow the light, you know, Canon has a cool name, Explorers of Light. You're seeking out the light, right? I'm a Sony artisan of imagery. Love that title too. But I think following or exploring, seeking for light is something that we do as photographers, and we should do. So what are some of the pros and cons? Next slide. What are some of the pros and cons of using natural light, ambient light, seeking out light? Say again?
It's too short.
What do you mean it's too short?
Morning or late afternoon, evening, and that's it really. The good light's too short.
Well, let me follow my own outline. You're absolutely right, but let me follow my own outline. What are some of the pros of using ambient or natural light? It's free. Less to carry. Yes, Maddie is sick of me carrying stuff. What are some of the benefits? It's free, right? Naturally occurring. It's abundant in spaces, right? So I love natural light. Being somebody that is a person that uses artificial light, and I have from the inception of becoming a photographer, sometimes when you're an artificial light photographer, people assume you don't like natural light, and that's not true. I love natural light. And in fact, one thing that you'll see in my work is that what I do with artificial light is I try to mimic in many ways the effects that you get with natural light. Not overdo it, not have a huge spray of light, right? What are some of the cons of natural light? Next slide. It's what? Shadows. Can be too harsh, too flat. When is natural light great?
Whenever you've got a cloud.
Whenever you have a cloud, so about 16 hours a day in London, right? Okay? Every day in Wales. Okay? No, but in all actuality, when is natural light typically best? During magic hour, right? Now, who here is going to wake up and talk a client into getting up at 6 a.m. during sunrise? One person. You are better than the rest of us. It must be the hat, right? Rugby players? I can imagine that. For the rest of us, that's just, you're just better than we are. Okay? Yeah, there you go. But in all actuality, I mean, we as photographers will get about 1 hour a day for natural light only. And during that 1 hour, it's awesome. The problem is, it's only 1 hour. We as photographers complain about the fact that there are so many photographers in the marketplace. We complain that, or we worry that, you know, cell phones and other technology is getting better to the point that our technical acumen is being diminished, or the value of the technical acumen that we have, right? We know f-stops, we know shutter speeds, we know lighting, and then somebody takes their iPhone 10, picks it up, it blurs the background in portrait mode, and we're like, wow, I just spent $2,000 on a 1.4 lens, and the iPhone just did it. Now, I'll grant you, it doesn't do it as good as our lenses. I agree with that. ISO isn't as good on cell phones. I got it. Got all those arguments. But you can't deny the fact that technology is catching up. And for the lazy photographer, it's going to put you out of a job. That's the reality. Okay? So yeah, and when I say it's inconsistent, the other real drawback to relying upon natural light all the time is the fact that you can set up a natural light shoot when would you normally set up a natural light shoot?
5:46.
Golden hour, right? So you're going to, if sunset is at 6 p.m., you're going to start around 5, maybe 5:15, right? What happens if the clouds come in and wipe out the sun? Or it's just stormy or rainy or whatever else. You can't shoot. Now, something I want to just make abundantly clear, there's a lot of information by some fantastic artists online, fantastic artists who do stuff on YouTube and elsewhere, and I'm not diminishing what they do or taking away from it. But they'll post videos and pictures, and it's beautiful work, and they are natural light only photographers, and it's phenomenal stuff, but it's not relatable to what we do. When I say we, I'm talking about working photographers. If you want to make money at photography, you cannot. There's going to be one person out of a million who does. I'm talking to the other 90%. Okay? If we want to make money at photography, we cannot rely on 1 hour a day. If we have technology nipping at our heels, constantly pushing us, we cannot rely on 1 hour a day. That's how you lose your job. You have to make yourself more valuable. Next slide, please. So we can follow the light or we can create the light. What happens when you have an amazing sunset like this? And your client, you're sitting there with your client. What would a natural light photographer be able to do with this? Natural light only. A silhouette, exactly. And it'd be a beautiful silhouette, right? It would be a stunning silhouette. But what if your client, what if it's an engagement shot? Again, a silhouette's gorgeous, right? But a great photographer does both. Great photographer pops the light on, does both. This was shot with the Rotolite EOS. Okay? What I love about a shot like this was shot bare bulb with the EOS, and you can barely, if at all, notice the shadow behind her. See my point? The way that I've chosen to light is I don't want it to be obvious that I'm lighting, because that's what they do in cinema. They don't flash and throw light everywhere, right? Also in still photography, whenever we flash, we're flashing a very cold light. It doesn't match our environment. I can't match the tones of the sunset to my model or my subject if I'm firing with traditional strobe. So you got to ask yourself, next slide please. What are the cons of artificial light? Because again, I'm going to keep it real. I mean, pros and cons of both. What are the cons of artificial light? If you don't know, you can read it to me. It's fine. You got to carry it. That's a great point, because I'm about taking stuff that's mobile, right? What else? The cost, right? Now, it's never popular when I say this, but I don't say it to be agitative. I don't say it to be controversial at all. I say it because I've trained hundreds, thousands of photographers at this point. And they'll tell me after the fact. I talk with other big photographers, and they'll admit to me off camera many things. And the reality is the vast majority of people who don't learn lighting or don't use lighting is because it does take more time. It does take more effort. You do have to take the time to learn it. And you have to make the effort to use it. That's a reality. That's a very articulate way of saying they're lazy. Okay? They may mean they do other things and they hustle and have a great work ethic in other areas, but the truth of the matter is, if you're going to use artificial light, you do have to invest money, you do have to invest time, and you have to learn your trade. See, but what I'm trying to communicate to all of you is that's an enormous payoff. You go from being a photographer that works 1 hour a day, a potential of 1 hour a day, to a photographer that can work 24. That's money, y'all. When I hear people say, oh, I can't afford lights, I'm like, you can't afford to not use them. I've never understood that statement. See, and I'm only saying this not to denigrate any photographers online at all. That's why I would never mention any names or anything, because they're wonderful artists. But they're artists, and I consider myself an artist, but I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. There's nothing romantic about being a starving artist. Nothing. I love making money. Money allows me to pursue my art, right? You could be broke and it's fine. Sit out there and do sketches next to the Cathedral in Notre Dame, that's fine. You're never going to go anywhere. You're never going to see any new places or do anything. See, me taking the time to invest in my education, invest in my lighting, enables me to fly around the world. When people say to me, well, it must be nice, the Sony Artisan, Rhodolite Master of Light, must be nice. It's not nice. I work for it. 11 years ago, when I started in photography, I made a commitment to myself at that time that I was going to learn and not be lazy. I made a commitment to myself that I was not going to be limited. I made a commitment to myself that I was not going to be a run-of-the-mill photographer. I made a commitment to myself that I would be known around the world. I did. Truly did. And I didn't rest until it happened. And I am in no way resting now. See, all of you can have this, but you have to work. You can't be a run-of-the-mill photographer. The truth is, you could take your cell phone during natural light, sunset, golden hour. You can give it to your kid, then get a great shot. That's a reality. I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be real. See, when people say, well, people don't hire people for weddings anymore. They just say, hey, take cell phone shots. Why do you think that's happening, guys?
Cell phones are as good as the people taking photos.
That's true, and it's because the photography industry is saying natural light only is good enough. So that's the problem. We've created a lot of this.
But it's not creative.
I'm not saying it's creative. We're educating. But we're educating our consumer base is what we're doing. That's the problem with what we're doing as photographers. We're telling them this is good enough. When you show up to a wedding and they'll put those little, snap cameras or on the tables, or they'll just say, hey, upload all the shots from the wedding to this website. The problem is we're telling people it's good enough, because when they go to websites and all they see on the wedding photography websites, or something similar, some other vocation, when all they see is natural light only shots, what do they say? And it's completely legitimate when they say it. I can do that. So we as an industry are self-destructing by our refusal to learn, to invest, and to grow. So all of you in this room, and for anyone watching online who wants to be more, who wants to make more, I'm just telling you from the bottom of my heart, many of the people who are producing work online and leading the current generation of how we do things in the world of photography, they don't make money. Proof is in the pudding. They're not flying around the world doing stuff. They're not. If you look at the people, and I'm not talking about me, if you look at the people who have big studios, people who are thriving and growing, and guys, they kick ass with light. They do. There's always one example somebody's going to give me that's the exception, but I'm talking about 90%. The 90% of people out there making money, no light. We're standing here in Pinewood Studios, and this This cracks me up. We have photographers, still photographers, who say they don't need to use diffusers, reflectors, lights. It's almost as if we as photographers pretend we know how to light better than people like Steven Spielberg. That cracks me up. I'm like, these guys, these are masters of light. They get it. You know what I mean? They can work anytime, anywhere. Next slide, please. So the pros of artificial light, it's limitless. Truly limitless, right? You yourselves become much more valuable and much more versatile. You know, when I used to do weddings, and I talk about weddings a lot because that's a cash cow. It's one of the few things that people will still pay for in the world of photography. And if we keep self-destructing, people will stop paying for that too. I purposely would get a booth at the very entrance to the bridal fair because I didn't want all the brides to be dissuaded and persuaded and have their vision of photography destroyed by what they were going to see in the rest of the bridal fair. Sure, there were other great photographers there, but it was more of the same. See, when they walk into that bridal fair, this is what I love to do, and I would get complaints from other photographers. I would put up pictures of big, like you guys see my pictures like the Disney wedding with big fireworks. I put up all these crazy light, crazy shots. Then people would come by and say, dude, you're killing my booth, man. Like, why? It's because all your stuff is natural light. They said, you got to stop saying things that you're saying to the brides, because I would say things like, hey, check out my booth and then go see everyone else's booth in the whole bridal fair. Go ahead, go see them. Ask to see a shot in the reception hall. Oh, you won't see one? I can show you shots in the reception hall. Oh, you mean you want shots in a reception hall? Because the other folks don't do that. Or they won't show you their work in a reception hall. Oh, you mean you don't have natural light, ambient light inside of a reception hall? Imagine that. It's like 6 to 9 p.m. Guys, this is how we self-destruct. Because here's what you don't understand. Most people who hire photographers, they don't know they've made a bad choice until after it's over. They don't. So they're like, it's okay. I'll get married. I don't need that. And they'll have a natural light only photographer convince them that they don't need it. And or they'll shoot with grain because they'll up the ISO to 25,000 ISO during the reception. Then they get their shots. It's too late. There's no go backs, right? See, when I sit at the entrance of a bridal fair and I show them this is what a shot should look like in a reception hall, now I'm changing their view of, wow, I didn't know you could do that. Of course you can do that. And I would say, and any photographer here could do that if they invested the time and energy into gear and learning. It's not that I'm a photography genius. It's I work hard and I value myself, right? When you guys put yourself in a position, and I'll say this, and I mean it, your competitors are sitting in this room. There'll be some of you who listen to me and kill it, and there'll be others of you who just don't. It's the ball is truly in your court. When people tell me there's no business here, I guarantee you, if I wanted to be a wedding photographer full-time again, and I wanted to kill it in London, give me a year in London. I'd be raking it in. Right? Because I do things other people don't do. Again, I'm not even talking about talent. I'm talking about the choices I make. You guys may be more talented than I am. But if you're not willing to work as hard and invest in money and education, it doesn't matter. See, I talk a lot about competing, but when you're competing, you're not competing against anyone else. That's where we mess up in the photography industry and other industries too. We're not competing against other people. You're competing against yourself. You're constantly worried about what that other guy's doing versus worried about, I'm limiting myself. Forget about that other guy. Oh, he's got 4,000 shots in his package. He's killing me. He's not killing you. If you have better shots, it wouldn't matter what he has in his package. That's the truth. When I talk with people about wedding packages or client, we never, the deliverables, I promise you this is the truth with my clients. The deliverables are the very last thing we talk about, and it's a very short conversation. They just want great shots. That's it. Next slide, please. So you have to ask yourself, are you going to be a creator or a follower? Right? Or are you going to be both? Who are you going to be? What are you going to be? These are the questions you need to ask yourself as you're sitting there today. Are you going to create the light, or are you going to follow the light? Now, the first thing I'll say is, guys, I'll give it to you all the day. When I get into golden hour, boom, lights go off. I go crazy, just like every photographer. What happens when the lights go down? What happens when God says we're on energy saving mode right now? Right? What happens? You got to ask yourself that. Next slide. And ultimately, do you want to be a limited or an unlimited photographer? That's it. So, when I talk about natural light only photographers, I am in no way making fun of them. If anything, I am encouraging you watching at home, you watching in the crowd, and I mean this in all sincerity. Make yourself more valuable. Drive up the prices in the marketplace. Don't destroy the industry. And for the artificial light photographers, don't do a bad job at it. Because the natural light only photographers look at artificial light photographers and say, that looks awful. Why would I want to do that? That's another way to destroy the industry. See, if we just kill it, we make money. We make money. And believe me when I say, if you're doing what you should be doing, and you're investing in yourself and you're investing in your photography, it's very, very feasible to make 6 figures as a photographer. Easy. If you're going to work and if you make yourself valuable. I can't tell you how many people I meet, and I don't say this to brag in any way. I really don't. I've really tried to take a tone for the seminar. I want to reach people. I don't want to be so controversial that people turn it off. I want to reach people with this message today. But it's completely doable. How much is the average wedding here? How much can they charge? That's it? 1,800? Okay, that's for people who don't want to learn. Okay, so for people who actually want to learn, and I'm not trying to offend anyone. If you're in that category now, I am truly not trying to offend you. What I'm telling you is you can easily jump into the next category. That's the message I want to communicate. You can easily be at that $4,000 weddings for a photographer are very easy to achieve. Very easy. All right, you do 10 weddings, it's $40,000 bucks, guys. 20 weddings, $80,000. It's not rocket science. This is, how many weddings does the average full-time wedding photographer do in a year?
45.
They'll do like 35, 40 weddings. That's over $100,000. The rate they charge is a lot less than 1,800.
Yeah, the average client.
Yeah, again, it's getting everybody's getting lumped in. But see, what I'm trying to encourage people to do, I guarantee you, if you know how to shoot with light, you're not charging 1,800 bucks. Period. People charging $1,800. There's somebody watching online. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm truly not. And there may be somebody sitting here today. I'm not trying to offend you. What I'm telling you is if you up your lighting game, let me put it this way, you will be able to charge a lot more. When clients walk into my door, I'm telling you, we don't even talk, they don't even ask how many images do I get. It's the very last thing. They're like, okay, we want to book you. Now what do I get? That's the very last thing, because they just want the shots. That's all they want, right? When I do commercial clients, a commercial job is $20,000 a day. That's the photographer cut. Right? That's money, guys. And it's sitting there. I do commercial clients. And when we did a commercial client, and I was out in Chicago with Maddie, we went out to Lakeside Bank and did a commercial shoot. And we're going indoors, outdoors, dusk, morning, afternoon, harsh light, good light, golden light, everything. And it's funny because you'll hear the creative director of the ad agency. He'll just tell people as we get, don't worry, Jason knows how to do it. They love it. They love bragging about it. Don't worry, Jason can figure the lighting out. Lighting, 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 lighting. That's how you make money. And so when you look at a light like a Neo 2 that's $400, or with a discount code it's like $350 or something. When you look at any of these lights, then when you start to think, well, it's so expensive. No, I'm trying to tell you the exact opposite. If you don't learn how to do light, you're cheating yourself out of an immense amount of money. And I am speaking from experience. I scrimped and saved to get lighting when I was a newer photographer because I knew it would make me stand out from the crowd. I scrimped and saved, and instead of buying that new stereo to put in my car or doing whatever else, I got lights. Okay, next slide. So how do you become limitless? It's by what we were just talking about. It's learning, educating, going to workshops, watching stuff online, and practicing. How often do you guys practice? I love sports. Love sports. Some of my favorite stories are listening to people like about Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or people. They'd have a bad game. You're talking about one of the best players in the world, right? They'd have a bad game. After the game, they'd be in the gym for 3-4 hours shooting hoops. These are guys who have done it their whole lives. After the game, still working on their craft. When I ask the average photographer sitting in the audience or at home, how often do you shoot? Oh, a couple times a month. Okay, you're going to be mediocre. Sorry. I shot like a bat out of hell when I first began. First 5 years of my career, I shot 4 or 5 times a week. I virtually bankrupted myself on shoots. Not because I had a big budget and I was doing it. I'd go to the thrift store and buy bridal gowns. I'd get a TF shoot, which is a time 4 shoot. I'd go out and shoot with a model. I worked at my craft. I learned lighting. And any money I made, you better believe it went back into gear. I invested in myself. See, everything I'm telling you, if you do these things, this is the truest if then, if there ever is one. If you do these things, you will be successful. But you have to do them. If you're watching at home, if you're sitting in the audience, if you don't have lighting, find a way to get it. Truly, find a way to get it. And then learn how to use it. They're telling me to hurry up. I'm going to keep going. Okay? Find a way to do it. Next slide. So in our industry, we're obsessed with overpowering light, overpowering the sun. Okay? We overpower the sun. That's all we talk about. How many watt seconds does a light have? That's not what we're about. It's about the right amount of light. I always equate it to having a Ferrari, right? What's the use of buying a Ferrari unless you live in Germany and you have the Autobahn? I mean, traffic's so miserable here in London that a Ferrari is a complete waste of money. I mean, your traffic's worse than LA. I mean, hell, it's worse than Ethiopia. Okay? I mean, if you buy a Ferrari in London, you're going 15 miles per hour, that's it. Same holds true with monolights and stuff. We buy a big, huge monolight, and I'll say for the record, if you are in the middle of the desert with no clouds and you need to overpower the sun, and it's in the middle of the day and you have no diffusion, yes, you need a 600 watt second monolight. You do. Absolutely, and in that circumstance, I would use it hands down. How often do we shoot in those conditions? A couple times a week? He's shaking his head no. He knows he's full of it. The truth is we don't. So when I recommend gear to people, I recommend gear based upon what we do 80-90% of the time. How often would I use a monolight at a wedding? Only if I'm doing something insane, like standing in the middle of the ocean and firing a light 20 feet away, which you guys have seen a video of me doing that. But outside of that, that's why when people ask me about the Rhodolite products, I use them because it covers 80, 90% of my work. Never said it covers all, but it covers 80, 90%. Okay, next slide, please. It's not just a matter of overpowering the sun, it's a matter of finding the right light. Next slide. Guys, we're more than photographers, we're visual creators. This is what you'd see more on a movie set. This is in Venice, Italy. Okay? This is how I shoot. Lights, diffusers, reflectors. This is how Hollywood lights. Right? And when we do the demonstration, there are certainly ways where you can do this where it's a smaller footprint. You may say, I don't have a big crew. You don't have to have a big crew. But you do have to put the time and effort into learning it and making great light. Next slide, please. So I'm going to show you a quick video. This is of me and Maddie in Dubai. We're on the top of a roof. It's going to show you how we go from a natural light environment to a dusk environment to a dark environment, and how if you're not limited, you can keep shooting. Go ahead. You're going to like these. Go that way. Stop right there. 1, 2, 3. Don't move. 1, 2, 3. Of course, you guys know me by now. I'm shooting these wide open at f2.8. No diffusion. These are completely undiffused here. 1, 2, 3. Don't move, Maddie. Ooh, we're really almost out of light. 1. One. Turn to me. Guys, when you're sitting in Dubai and you're on the top of a rooftop and you get up there, and Maddie will tell you by the time we climbed those steps, went up the ladders, did everything, right, Mad? What we have, honey? We had like 15 minutes of natural light, right? And the other thing you guys got to understand, it's not just sunset. We lost natural light. Why, Maddie? You remember? We lost natural light because there was a billboard on top of the building, and the sun hit it, and the light's gone. See, sometimes it's a cloud that comes and you're gone. Sometimes you have a sunset and the sun goes beneath the mountain, light's gone. See, I hated that. I hated getting to the locations, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm out of light. I guess I'll go home. We stayed up there and shot for hours and hours and hours and got some amazing shots. That's how you don't limit yourself. Next slide. Oh, this is good. So it's about becoming, I call it a multi-generational photographer because we're embracing the past and the future. Next one. So what we're going to work on when we do the live demonstration, guys, it's not just about, we just add light. That's our solution to everything, right? It's like in America, and I'm sure other places, if there's a problem with the educational system, we throw money at it, right? If there's a problem, we throw money at it. That's what we do as photographers. If there's a problem, oh, we must need more light. If there's a problem, oh, okay, let's get more light. Guys, sometimes the simplest solution is just picking up a diffuser, $40 diffuser, putting it up, cutting light. Get some amazing light. That's what Hollywood would do. Okay? Keep that in mind. Diffusing light, reflecting light, adding light, and shooting anytime, anywhere. So here's Miss Aspen. She went thrift store shopping yesterday. And we're going to have some fun when we do the demonstration with you guys and show you guys some stuff on how you can get creative and what we utilize to create some cinematic effects. And you know, some feedback that I get from people sometimes is, oh, well, it must be nice because you have opportunities and funding and everything. And so what we wanted to do was to do a shoot with some stuff that I use and other stuff that we just picked up at a thrift store. Not just costumey stuff, but stuff to diffuse light. Ways that we can make some great shots without breaking the bank. Make sense? All right, guys, so we're going to take a quick break. We are going to, Rhodolight's giving me the high sign. I've already gone like 10 minutes over. So go ahead and we're going to take a quick break, then we're going to come back, and we are going to get into a live demonstration. I hope you guys have enjoyed it so far.
Guys, you got food? Sorry, so come out and have some food, come see the lights.
You're gonna like these. Go that way. Stop right there. 1.
Okay guys, so welcome to the second half. I'm just going to start by giving a very quick technical overview on some of the lights you're about to see Jason use to put it into context and answer any questions you may have on those. So one of the first things I'm going to do, because I know a lot of you have been asking questions in the break, is just help explain the range, where you would use different products and what are some of the unique things about these lights. So as you see the range here, we have the Neo 2, which is ideal for on-camera, for things like portrait shoots, up to a maximum distance of about 10 feet, and probably the sweet spot distance in reality is about 6 or 7 feet with this kind of light. You've then got the EOS, which gives you greater distance, so probably something more like 15 feet. This is ideal for things like location shooting, outdoors, and then you have the Innova Pro 2, which is the beast, it's the most powerful light in the range, which is ideal for studios, portraits, and where you just need a lot of light. Some of the unique features about the Rotolight system that really set us apart and just basic operation is that all the lights are very, very easy to control. So being a continuous light, the main advantage you get with that is that you shoot what you see. I can preview exactly what the shadow is going to do to my subject. It's exactly the same light with this that's going to flash as it is my continuous light. So sometimes on speed lights you might have a modeling light built in, but that modeling light has a different beam angle, it has a different color, it has a completely different look and property, so it doesn't give you a very good reflection of what the light's going to do, and also they're very weak. So if you are, Jason gave the example earlier of shooting in a reception hall or a church, you'll all have been in that situation where you're constantly hunting for focus because you just don't have enough light. So the beauty of using a system like the Rotolights, which are the first in the world that are both continuous LED lights and high-speed sync flash, is that you have the continuous light to focus in low light situations and to compose your shot, but then you have the extra power of the flash when you need it. Now, all of the Rotolights are bicolor, which means they can change color. Again, with a speed light, they're fixed color. So if I'm shooting at sunset, what I don't want is a burst of cool blue light. Now, of course, you could use a filter to get over that, but as soon as you use a filter, you immediately cut 30% of the light output. And the problem with the filter is it's fixed in color. So as sunset's changing from light yellow to dark orange, I can't adjust. On the back of these lights, with one dial, I can adjust this all the way from a cool blue, which is great for overcast conditions, 6300, to a more regular daylight setting, all the way down to a warm tungsten, which would be ideal for those kind of sunset situations. And on a lot of lights nowadays, you can change color, but you don't have any idea what you've actually set the light to. With this, it's telling me the Kelvin. Now, on any single camera in the world, Sony, Canon, nowadays, you can actually set a custom white balance. So instead of leaving your camera in auto, the problem with auto is what the camera is doing is constantly reassessing where it thinks the white point is. So if you're doing a ream of shots and you're hoping for consistency to batch process a wedding in Lightroom, that's going to be a nightmare because they're all going to look like completely different color temperatures. With this, I can set the light to, for example, daylight, which is 5600, type a custom white balance into my camera, 5600, then when I get into Lightroom, all the shots are going to look correctly lit in terms of the color. Now, of course, you could correct, but it's just about workflow time. Why do you need to correct it in post if you can get it right first time? In terms of advanced operation with these lights, if I click both buttons, one of the things that I mentioned earlier was the flash. So in flash mode, one of the things that are completely unique with these lights is the lack of recycle time. So typically with a speed light, you'd have a recycle time of about 2 seconds. Now, whilst that might not sound like a lot, on a camera like this, the A6300, which can do 11 frames per second, in 2 seconds I've taken 22 photographs. With my traditional speed light, it fired once. So with this system, what this in fact allows me to do is fire every single time, and that will keep going until the buffer is full on that. And what that allows me to do is to save time on my workflow, because I'm not having to edit shots where I think, oh, that's a great shot, but someone blinked and the flash didn't fire. It means I get every moment. You don't miss those special moments. I can adjust this. It's high-speed sync, by the way, so anything up to 1/8000th of a second. I have all the usual controls, so I can adjust flash power, I can adjust duration, and it will flash at any color temperature. So it's the world's first flash with variable color. Now, the other lights in the range work in a similar fashion, but with a lot more power. Something like an EOS is one of the thinnest, lightest LEDs ever designed, so it's under 1.5 kilos in weight. With integrated handles, it's extremely easy for me to move around. All of the lights, so the EOS and the Neo can be mounted onto light stands because they've got 4-20 mounts. And the Neo can also be mounted on top of the camera with a cold shoot, or I can even hand hold it like this. Now the Innova Pro similarly has that flash capability, but is the brightest LED light ever designed in its 1x1 star class. So incredibly power efficient. It only consumes 72 watts, but it puts out over 1.5 kilowatts of energy. Absolutely no heat. All of the lights run on battery operation, and they've all won numerous awards for their innovation. Now, anyone here do a bit of video also? A few people. So the other unique thing with these lights is currently if you do both, you've got to really buy two separate products. So you need a continuous light for your video work, and probably a flash or a strobe for your photo work because you wanted something a bit brighter. Clearly the advantage with these is being able to switch into both modes and not only light my subject continuously, but also jump into flash when I need more power. For video, they've also got a couple of advanced modes though. So let's say I'm shooting an interview with somebody and I want to do a subtle transition effect to the next scene. I could do that in post-production, but it can be often quicker just to do it in camera. So I can go and set up a designer fade, in this light for example, pick the number of seconds that I want, so for example 3 seconds. The light will now do a custom fade out transition effect then and there for me. The other really unique thing about these lights, again, which is a unique patented feature of Rotolite, is we have special effects built into every single one of these lights. Now you may think, well, when would I ever use special effects? It doesn't actually have to be the next Star Wars movie. Let's say you're doing something as simple as a, interview with somebody. Yeah, exactly. But you're doing an interview. I'm interviewing Jason. I want to make it look like he's sat by a fireplace to get a bit more creative interest in the shot, so it's not so flat. I can go into the back of this light, set a tungsten color, which would be more accurate for fire, go and set, for example, a fire effect, pick the rate of flicker, the minimum brightness level, and within 20 seconds, I have a burning firelight. Now, to make that look more realistic, I could add a half-orange CTO filter to the front, which we already have pre-cut for the lights. I've got not only things like fire, but television effects, so you're doing the next Carlsberg beer advert, you come home, flick on the television to watch the football. What the TV effect does is randomly vary light intensity to make it look like there's a moving image on the screen. Lots of creative tools in these lights to enhance your creative possibilities, and that's really the point, is all of these lights allow you to focus on the art of being a creative photographer or creative filmmaker. One other unique feature I'll show you, which is really nice, is something we call true aperture dimming. So on any of these lights, I can go into the light and tell the light what ISO I'm shooting at or want to shoot at. So you may well say, okay, I know I don't want to go above 400, 800, for example. So I can go into the light and say, right, I'm going to shoot at ISO 400. What's my shutter speed? Now, that's going to be determined usually by your focal length, or if you have a particular shot in mind where you want to freeze action. So I may say, okay, I'm going to be at an 80th of a second, for example. And how far is my subject, roughly? 3 feet. I hit this, and the light calculates the optimal aperture for me. Now, it's telling me currently at that setting, you want to be at f10. I may well say, I want to shoot a 1.4 because I want a particular look in mind. I can now dial the light down to 1.4, and it's perfectly exposed for that ISO, for that shutter speed, at that distance. So effectively what it's doing is like a built-in light meter in the light. And it eliminates that trial and error process of I'm underexposed, I'm overexposed. It just does it for you straight away. So it's a really, really cool feature, and that's hopefully gives you a little bit overview of the range. Just to give you guys an idea, we are doing some special offers today where you get your ticket refunded, and in most cases actually even more discount against the product. So just to very briefly talk about that. Neo 2, which is this one here. This comes with a power supply, bag, and filters, so you can soften the light further if you want to. That's normally $299. With the discounts there, you get that for $269, and we're also throwing in the handle and a set of 10 additional filters completely free of charge. We also have a 3-light kit version of this that comes with stands and a hard case, which is a really great option. That's normally $1579, $1299 today, and we're also throwing in this wireless Elinchrom transmitter. Now, what this does not only is control the flash, but actually if you watch the back of these, Dan, could you just hold this briefly for me if you don't mind? If you watch the back of this light, what I could do is, let's say I'm doing a wedding or indeed a film shoot, and I realize, oh, that light's a little bit hot or it's not bright enough. I can actually wirelessly adjust the modeling light power of the light and wirelessly adjust the color. So let's say I'm doing a sunset shoot and the white balance is changing from 600 feet on up to 10 lights at the same time. Now I could either control them individually, or I may want to control them all together, so I don't have to go on each head, and I can have that capability. So with the 3-light kits there, you get that transmitter free of charge. That's normally £230. EOS, Normally 1,049, 899 today. To give you an idea in power, this is almost 3 Neos in terms of power, so it's a lot more power. You get a free, yeah, 3 Neo 2s, exactly. You also get a soft bag with that today, which is worth 150. And the Innova Pro 2 1500, 1349 today, and you also have an additional £200 saving on any accessories. Sony have some fantastic offers today, so you're going to get 10% on any camera body or lens apart from the 7 III. And Hire a Camera also have some really good rentals, so if you wanted to try a light first, rent it out for a weekend for a shoot, that's an option as well. So any technical questions on the light before Jason does his, yep.
When the battery goes down on the Neo 2,
Yep.
does it go down gradually or does it just...
It's a good question. So one of the things that can be really irritating on a shoot is you're halfway through and it just suddenly dies.
Right.
So the really good thing with the Neo 2 is it actually has a clever warning system built in for you. So when the light gets low on batteries, it will start giving a low battery warning, but instead of just killing, it reduces the light in very small 10% increments. So it will drop to 90% and run for as long as 90% as it can, then drop to 80%. And effectively what that does is it buys you another 40 minutes. So you know, you can look on the back of the camera and go, okay, I know I'm going to have to change these in 20 minutes, but it's not going to ruin my shot right now. Generally, in terms of battery life, though, one thing to mention is that the lights are known for their battery efficiency. So if you look at Neo in particular, the industry standard for an on-camera light would be 6 batteries, and the industry standard would be 40 minutes runtime. This is an hour and a half runtime at full power, but bear in mind, whereas a speed light would typically do 300 flashes before it's completely dead on battery pack, this will do over 50,000. One-to-one flashes. 150,000 with these guys, full power. Yeah, just for context. So you're not likely to run out on battery anytime soon with these. Yeah.
So that's across all 3 of them?
All 3 of them does the f-stop. Yeah, so we call that true aperture dimming. That's a really nice little feature. Yeah, and so all of them do the flash, all of them do things like the fade effects, all of them have special effects. In terms of special effects, the Neo 2 and the Innova Pro have a bigger range of special effects, but the EOS has the key ones like fire, television, etc. Yep. Any other questions on the lights? Yep.
Yeah, if you, when you flash, is it proportionate? So if I set the light to 50%, is it 50% of the maximum flash, or is it a set amount above, or is it always full power?
Sure. So like with a traditional speed light, you have full control of flash power independently of the modeling light. So in flash mode, the left-hand control where it says, for example, 90% is the modeling light is on 90% power. But I could have the modeling light at 0 and still flash this light, if I turn the camera on, at full one-to-one power. So to control flash power in this mode, I just hold the right button. I can either have it on max, which is 1-to-1. I can have it on half, quarter, or if you did want it to be relative to the modeling light, then we actually have a mode here. You see it says X times 8, so that's 8 times the current modeling light. 16 times would be 4 stops, 8 would be 2 stops. So you've got that. You can either have it completely independent of the modeling light or related to the modeling light if you prefer it to be related. But you can have the modeling light completely off if that's what you would like, or you can adjust the modeling light to suit your situation and get focus. Yep. It's not TTL, but as Jason will probably give you more detail, I know Jason refers to TTL as truly terrible lighting. I mean, TTL, if you think about TTL, it's effectively the same as using auto on your camera. You can use TTL, but in TTL, it's telling you, guessing what it thinks a correct exposure is. Often, sometimes you want a bit of shadow in the shot, or you want a bit of contrast in the shot, because if it's just completely evenly lit, and it's boring. I mean, you want to sometimes get those shots in. So Jason can give you a bit more interest on that, but it's not TTL. Yeah. Yeah, cold shoe. So it's a cold shoe, and then on the bottom of the cold shoe, you've got a female quarter 20. So you could put it on any standard camera tripod. Yep. So there's a couple of options. Yeah, we don't force you to get the Elinchrom, so there's actually a PC sync socket on here. So if your camera has a PC sync port, so the A9 does, and the 7R Mark III also does, for example, if you use Sony, you can take a sync cable straight in. Otherwise, there's some very good options. So Godox make the, what's it called, Darren? The X1, is it? X1T. So if you put the X1... For on camera, though. Yeah, but on camera, what you do is you put the X1T on camera, and then you put you cold shoe mount the Neo to the top of the X1T, yep, and that would give you high-speed sync on camera. And that would work with Fuji as well, by the way, because they have a Fuji version of that.
Well, if you're if you shoot weddings or anything and you're maybe using bounce flash,
Yep.
a reception or something like that, is there any way you can bounce it? Is there any way you can angle it, or?
On camera.
Yeah.
We have a thing we call the 360 Pro, which gives you full 360-degree motion of the light. So yeah, you could angle it up and bounce it off the ceiling, for example, in that kind of situation. Absolutely. And obviously with these lights where you've got more power, that becomes even more relevant. So we did a shoot, I actually did a shoot last weekend, or weekend before in Shoreditch, and we were bouncing this off a white ceiling where the model was stood by a window to make it look effectively like it was the daylight coming through. That worked brilliantly.
So can that work in a custom flash bracket kind of?
Yeah, I mean, you could use, there's lots of different things. Because it's quarter 20, you can really put it on any kind of accessory you want. So you could have it on, we even sell 2 bars, so if you wanted to have something else on camera, if you're doing video, for example, you might want to have a microphone on camera, have the light to the side. You can hand hold it as well, actually, to almost like light paint your subject. That works really good too. So yeah, you can do a lot of different things with it. Any other questions on lights?
Does the X1T wireless control it? Is that
X1T won't wirelessly control this because the Godox, all flash manufacturers unfortunately have different protocols for the wireless, but the way you'd get around that is just get the X1R receiver, which is only £30.
Yeah.
Put the receiver has a quarter 20 hole on the bottom, so you can put the receiver on a lighting stand and then put the knee on top of that, so doesn't have to be hanging off or anything like that. And that would be good. So that would work perfect in that situation. Yep.
Barn doors.
Yep, we have barn doors for every single light. So you can see them on the Nova Pro 2 here. And all of the barn doors are really effective at masking the light down. So if you really want to focus that light effectively and stop that wide spill, in a lot of situations for portraits, you want that wide spill because it wraps around the subject, but sometimes you might want a slightly harder light source if you like. We even have, for the EOS and the Nova Pro, a honeycomb louver, which is a metal grid to focus that down. It's worth mentioning as well, by the way, all of 3 lights have softboxes available for them. So Jason's got some pretty wacky contraptions he'll show you as well. They will fit inside typical flash modifiers and umbrellas. Jason's got some really cool setups for that. But otherwise, we have some really, really nice softboxes as well. And the softboxes come with 2 different fabrics. So you have a frost, which is a much thinner diffusion, but it's very, very effective. And then you have a harder diffusion here, which is just slightly more aggressively diffused, but very soft. One of the other things just to mention as well in terms of batteries is if you didn't ever want to have to worry about a Neo, for example, on batteries, it would give you great battery life anyway. I know one of the ways Jason likes to work with it is using an external battery pack. This is something we sell also. This would run this Neo for about 12 hours at 100% power. So you could leave it on for a whole wedding and never even worry about it. It's got little clips, so just hang it off your lighting stand and that's you done for the day. You don't have to worry about that. So yeah, lots of different modifiers. Yep.
How much is the battery pack?
This battery pack in particular today is $199, but it will work with different battery packs. So I know other people have used, there's lots of different options on the market. We can recommend a few different for you, depending on what you want to go with.
Barn doors for the Neo 2, is that metal?
It's metal, yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes with the plastic ones, you can have issues with them snapping off or things like that. So we like to give people good quality things that are going to last. Yeah.
What's the battery life on a EOS?
On an EOS, the EOS consumes 48 watts. It depends what capacity battery you want to put on. If you buy the Rotolite battery, which is 95, that's quite important because 100 watt hours is the largest battery you can fly with. So you don't have to check this, which is nice. You can bring it on carry-on. This would last for over 2 hours at full power. But this is very, very bright at full power. A lot of the shots I've done with Jason were on 30% sometimes, or less even. So real world, 3 hours usage on flash all day. Because on flash, in the modeling light mode, you're not using it at that crazy amount of power. And in flash, it's very efficient on battery because it's only when you're asking it to flash it's doing that. So, I mean, Jason would tell you on flash all day long. You wouldn't change the battery on an EOS, would really would.
I don't change it all day, no matter what.
Someone else does it for you.
Yeah, someone else does it for you, he said.
That's true.
Yeah. Any other questions on the lights? No, happy with that? All right, without further ado, I'll hand over to the master and he'll give you the technique as to how to use them in anger. So thank you very much.
Am I on? Yay! All right, guys, practical applications of these lights. This light is the EOS. I love the Neo. So what do you use the Neo for? You use the Neo for bridal rooms, groom's room, ceremonies. Well, no, I take that back. Not ceremonies. You use it for receptions. This is the light for receptions, to walk around, put it on your camera, so on and so forth. If I am fortunate enough to have the EOS, what I do at a wedding is, especially at the reception, the EOS sits up on a light stand, or as you probably know, I prefer C-stands, but I put the EOS on a light stand at the edge of a dance floor and illuminate the dance floor. So when there's, father, daughter, couple dance, first dance, all that, the whole wedding, I have light. Who said that somebody else changes my battery for me? That was funny. I like that. That was a good one. I'll have to steal that from you. But I can tell you from a practical standpoint that, again, kind of like I was talking about overpowering the sun, I like to talk about, I really get sick. Okay, Jason, be nice. I really get sick of advice in the photography industry that is not real-world advice. It annoys me to no end. Kind of like I was talking about how the market for natural light only photography in real-world applications is not that large. Kind of like how we don't actually shoot that often at midday sun in the middle of the desert where we need 600 watt seconds of light. There are times that, yes, natural light only photographers can make good money. There are times where we do need a 600 watt second monolight. But those aren't very often. They're not. And so when I talk about real world application, I'm trying to help photographers. Look, I honestly, just to be straight up with all of you, I had to make a decision whether I was going to say the things that I was going to say the things that you're supposed to say versus the things that would really help you. And I decided to say the things that would really help newer photographers, was really the direction I decided to take. So believe me, every time I say this stuff, I'll get messages from photographers, shouldn't be saying this stuff. I'm like, but this is what helps them because it's the truth. This is what you need to be successful. So, real world applications, you're not going to leave your light running 3 hours straight on a battery. You're not. You're going to walk up during the reception. You're going to turn it on during the dances. You're going to turn it off when it's not used. That's why I say I don't replace the batteries. The Neos, if I'm out all day, I may replace the batteries maybe once if I'm like really using it. When he talks about the flash and the flash, firing, that is legit. If you're not using it in continuous mode and just using it in flash mode, then you're not going to replace the batteries very often at all, once or twice a week. With the flash on the Neos will go, when are you guys going to use a Neo? You're going to use it for any sort, a Neo 2 I should say. When are you going to use this? You're going to use this for any sort of a portrait where you're diffusing light, any sort of a portrait where there is indoors, any sort of a portrait where I'm thinking like Maddie and I did a shoot in the forest in Ireland where we had some tree cover. Is it going to work in broad day sunlight? No, you need a speed light for that. But ask yourself, is it a good idea to shoot in broad day sunlight? That's what I want to keep getting people back to. Is it a good idea? Right? You can eat a ton of sugar, but is it a good idea? Depends if you're depressed or not. Sometimes it is a good idea. But for the most part, it's not a good idea, right? When we talk about diffusing light, we talk about we're getting rid of a bad ingredient in our photography, in our composition. All we do now, like I said earlier, is throw light at the problem. We throw light at the problem. We don't cut light. Hollywood cuts it. The first thing you do when you walk in, you look at your composition. The very first thing you do is you cut anything out of it that doesn't belong. Whether that's a piece of the composition that is ugly, whether there's trash, whether there's something in there that you don't want to Photoshop afterwards. Again, back to me preaching about work ethic with photographers, stop relying on Photoshop. What you don't know, and I'm only saying this to educate people who are newer to the industry, not to denigrate those who do. What you don't know is when you see lens flare, catch light stuff, and natural light only photographers' shots, that's all done in post-production. That's not happening in real life, right? The reason I mention that is that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So if you produce a YouTube video and you have to get 5 shots ready for it, that's a feasible task because you're not doing client work. If you're doing client work and you have to produce 100, 200, 400 shots, that is unrealistic. You see my point? I'm trying to teach you procedures that will apply to actual paid work. See, your clients are not going to like it if their shots are dull in the eyes and there's no catch light. They're not. They're going to look lifeless. We watch movies and TV shows and everything else. Guarantee you, if you start looking for catch light, you'll never look at movies and TV shows the same way again. Never. You'll watch some horrible B movie, which are my favorite. It's what I edit all of my pictures to. Watch a horrible B movie on Netflix. Usually the lighting is horrendous. But if you watch a good movie, the lighting's awesome. Always catch light. There's drama, there's shadow, right? Highlights, shadows, all of the above. So you're going to use this again. And that's why speed light is always in my kit. For the very, very few times that I might need it. Just being real, I haven't used a speed light in about probably a year and a half. Ever since the Neo 2 came out, I haven't used a speed light. Or no, yeah. Well, whatever it is, I haven't used a speed light in a long time. Okay. For one, speed light on top of a camera is horrible light. It's awful, right? It looks disgusting. Keep this in mind too. This is what cracks me up about all this horsepower when we talk about lights. If you guys watch my video, what do you guys see me do with these lights? A lot of the times, if it's daytime, I'm firing these things with 0 diffusion on the front, right? I do that for 2 reasons. They're not as powerful as a strobe. So it requires me to shoot it undiffused. Just being real with you. But look at the difference. If this is a traditional strobe, there's one big bulb, one singular bulb of light that goes boom and fires that light. That's why it gives you such a harsh specular highlight, okay? Versus hundreds of tiny little lights. See, when people say light is light, light isn't light. Light is different. The way that just the whole composition of the light is very different. Hundreds of different little lights is going to have a very different effect on somebody's face versus one big, huge, light coming out at somebody. So I can take these lights and I can fire them. And that's what I do. So this guy will be around with me. I use the Neo 2, for if I'm running and gunning, putting stuff out there. I'd use it all day for a wedding. This is my favorite light, the EOS. It's light. Rotolight has told me, and I'm just going to let them indulge my senses here. They've told me they put the grips on just for me. Okay, I remember when Rod called me, you're going to love this new light. We put grips on so you can one hand hold it. So I was excited about that. But I love this guy to death. I love this light. It's the perfect blend between that light and this light. Again, that's 3 Neo 2s. Okay. And then the Anova Pro 2 is 6 of the Neo 2s and 2 of the EOSs. So it'd be EOS I guess, right? But it's 2 of the EOS. So with the Anova Pro 2, I use that for shooting outdoors, flash, if I need to throw the flash distance further. Keep this in mind too. When would I still use a 600 watt second monolight? If I needed to throw the light very far. But if you know anything about light, where's the best quality light? Close to our subject or far away? Close. Have you guys seen my video where I was in the ocean shooting that wedding a couple years ago and the bride and groom are on that cliff and the waves are crashing? You want to know some reality, some religion right now? Do you know how freaking long it took me to edit those shots? Forever. Forever is the answer. Because we had to fire that light bare bulb to reach that far. There was a little reflector on it, but there was no diffusion on it. We had to throw that light like 40 feet. So if you need that shot, this stuff's not going to do it. How often do you do that type of work? 2% of the time. You want to make money at photography? You want to have an ROI? You want to stop buying gear that's just collecting dust in your showroom? Speaking about myself. Buy the stuff that's going to serve you 80% of the time. Because my showroom, my house, is chock full. Do you guys have Goodwill over here? Salvation Army. I've been so busy, I did spring cleaning. I probably took $30,000 a year to Goodwill and just left it there. Just gear I can't use. Just because it's stuff it's lights and stuff that I don't use anymore. The point is, don't buy stuff that's just going to collect dust. Don't buy stuff. And this is where I've gotten in my career at this point. I've stopped buying stuff. I'm like, oh, that would be really cool. Stop buying that stuff unless you really plan on using it. Unless it's really going to have an ROI for you. Just stop. That's when you're going to get disillusioned with photography. That's when you're going to say, this isn't making me money. That's when you're going to say, I can't do this anymore. That's when you're going to get divorced. Okay? Trust me. You want to keep a happy marriage? Ooh, we're going to have a rave. But that's what you need to do. Are you guys raving me over here? I like it. All right. So then I would use this for the vast majority. In fact, if you look at my YouTube videos, the vast majority of them since this came out is with the EOS. And it's for that reason. It's because I'm able to take it anywhere, run and gun with it. Okay? It strobes. This will overpower the sun if the sun isn't at midday. Okay? So I think I'll go back to a shot. I'll show you a shot where I did that real quick. This shot here is this. Now the EOS, or the light, was about, this might have been the Nova Pro 1, but it's going to be similar to the EOS. But that light was about this far away. Maybe about 3 feet away. Okay. So if you're going to do a big 16 millimeter angle shot, right, with a lens, and you need your light source far out of the frame, you're going to have a light that throws further light. That would be the Nova Pro 2. But for the most part, what I use is the EOS. Okay. Now, one thing that I told Rotolite, and they do have some amazing modifiers, but and we're going to use some of them. But one thing I also told them when they made the lights, first thing I said is, hey, you guys got to do what other, flash manufacturers do, which is put the receivers inside, do all of that stuff, which they did. The second thing that most photographers are going to ask, and again, being one of you guys and keeping it real, it's like, you guys have modifiers. Let's face it, you do. So when the Neo 2 came out, I was inundated with how could I possibly use some of my existing modifiers, right? So I started looking around and I started jimmy rigging some stuff and putting the Neo 2 inside of a pop-up modifier that worked really well. The only problem is if you put it inside of that pop-up modifier, there's a flap on the inside of that, if you guys have watched some of my videos, and that flap blocks the vents on the Neo 2. And eventually it'll get warm. Okay? So then what I did was, let me find my bag here. Where's my Rotolite bag? Aspen, do you know where it is, honey? behind door number 5. Still in my stuff. That's okay. I'll just take home some free stuff when we're done. So I started looking at options, right? Here's the Innova Pro 2. And I bought this, okay? Just a little swivel umbrella adapter, okay? This is amazing for you to work with because take this little swivel adapter, take this guy here, okay? Put it inside. Screw this onto the bottom of either the EOS or the Neo 2, okay? And then what we do is put this on a light stand. Okay, I'll take the Neo 2 here. Oh, this guy's already ready to go. I'll do this one. Okay, so I take this one here, and this is pretty awesome. So I just screw this into the bottom of the Neo 2, and it's the same thread for the EOS. Okay, what this does now, this enables me to use any umbrella in the world with these lights. Any umbrella modifier. The cheapest, most accessible modifiers for lights in the world, most readily available, are umbrellas. You get an umbrella for $15, $20. Okay? You can take this, who wants to help me today? Come on up, my love. Fantastic. Okay. I can take the EOS off this guy. Take this. Yeah, I need it off of that. There we go. Okay. This guy goes on here, like so. Okay. Then we use any umbrella that we have. Who here owns an umbrella for modifiers, for flash or for something else? Right? This is why I'm showing this to you guys. Thank you. All right. Take this. This is the halo. This thing wraps around the back of the Neo 2. Okay. And if it had batteries, it would be amazing. Okay. You guys, I mean, this is like April Fool's up here. All right, so I'll get my own batteries. All right, so, huh? Sure, yeah, use the V-Lock. That'll work perfect. All right, so what this does is we take this. This is just an umbrella accessory right here. Just folds up like that, right? You can see in the back. This is a reflective surface on the back, okay? The stem of the umbrella just feeds right through the light, okay? And here's what I really love about it. Tighten it up. The back of this goes over, usually don't have the big battery in here, but it goes over this, and there's a cap at the end that snaps on, and this is Velcros. Okay, I can raise this up.
These are only Mardi Gras videos.
Yes, this is all the Mardi Gras videos. Yep. This is the same one, so this is probably full of germs. I mean, it is Bourbon Street. It's disgusting. So take this up. Okay. Now, if you guys look at the light that comes out of this. Yeah, kill that. Maddie, can you come up here, honey? Look at the quality of light that is cast on her right there. This is so light, so efficient. Oh, by the way, that's one of my other favorite words. I'm a Six Sigma black belt. For those who don't know what Six Sigma is, it's pretty much in a nutshell process improvement. Completely becoming efficient with your operations. I'm a Six Sigma black belt. Anything that's inefficient, I loathe. Okay? Inefficiency is waste. If I can go to a shoot, set up one light, put a modifier on it, and it wraps light like this, I can use this the whole day, right? We could put this on. We've put this on a monopod. We'll put this on a monopod and just go throughout an event. My assistant will just hold the monopod and just move it around. Like Rod was saying, the other benefit. You look beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
The other benefit. What's that?
You too.
I do too? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I always appreciate reciprocity. But if you have the light set up and you're just going boom, 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 the benefit, guys, not downing on strobes. It's why I told Rotolight, you guys want to help take over the lighting world? You guys got to produce some strobes. It's a necessity, right? But the benefit to LED photography, LED lighting, LED strobe technology is that we can see what we get before we take it. I can look at her before I take the shot. Stand a little further back for me, please. Right there is perfect, okay? Look at that, but I don't have to guess. There's no guessing games. There's no lighting triangles. I don't have to measure distance, get out a tape measure and figure out where to put it. I put the light up. She looks great. Look at the catch light, by the way. See, the bigger modifier I put onto the outside, the more I spread that light, her eyes illuminate, right? So now I go boom, 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 take a shot. She looks fantastic. Turn your head this way. I have profile lighting. No guessing. It's like Rod was saying, we're taking the guesswork out of photography and getting it back to the creative angle of it. If you're watching this at home or if you're watching this live, I'm telling you, if you're trying to learn lighting, LED lighting is the way to go. Coming from somebody who has learned both flash and LED, I'm telling you, it's the same thing I say about Sony. If you're new at photography and you're trying to figure it out, and if you guys follow me on social media, you'll know this about me. I'm in the process of teaching my triplet boys, my 3 sons, photography right now. And coming from a very experienced photography instructor, as I am, if I try to teach them on DSLRs, it's much more difficult than teaching them on mirrorless. I mean, honestly, mirrorless is easy. I just took my boys down to Cuba, picked the cameras up. I bought all 3 of them A6000s, and they just moved it around. And I said, okay, boys, 1/60th of a second, ISO 100, shoot wide open. Then they can see it. What happens if you don't have enough light? Start moving your ISO up and down. They can see before they get it. Then we started adding lights, and I started teaching my boys about lighting. See, you're going to be technically sound, but you're just going to get there a lot faster. That's one reason why sometimes when I give these lectures, some folks don't necessarily appreciate the fact that I'm sharing this information, because to be candid with you, I'm making this easy. And if I make this easy for people to do, then it levels the playing field. You know, there's certain photographers out there who pride themselves, and you guys probably know someone like this, who pride themselves on having an enormous, inordinate amount of knowledge in their heads about photography. They could quote you some obscure lens from somewhere in Zimbabwe. And my response is always, okay, cool, let me see your shots. I could care less how much you know, unless you have a great shot. See, to me, that's, again, I'm a big sports guy. That's the difference between someone telling someone, this should be the form in which you shoot a shot. All right, cool, go shoot some shots. Let me see you make them. Well, no, I don't. I mean, I'm a coach. I don't shoot. Okay, well, I'm just going to follow someone who actually can make a shot. See what I mean? See, we're caught up in all this stuff when we should be caught up in the end result. The end result is this. Okay? So, we're going to show you guys some different things. How long do we have, guys? We have about another 25 minutes? Plus or minus, minus or plus? All right, perfect. All right. So we're going to switch to some live shooting here.
Jason, would you shoot as it is now with the flash rather than continuous light as it is?
Okay, great question. You want to know how to use the Neo 2s? Put them on 1-50 and don't ever change it. I'm serious. That's all I do. I can sit here and lie to you. That's all I do. Okay, it's the most powerful. And then guess what you do? You move it. It's not difficult. I mean, serious, it's not. So I just put them on 1/50th and fire. Flash versus LED. Nope, looks about right. You know what I mean? If I take this outside and I need more light, turn it on flash, get double the output. See, it's really that easy.
In one of your videos,
Yep.
you use the barn doors, and I remember seeing it when you using that setup.
Uh-huh.
Are you saying you're better off going, I know big light, better for that, but I mean, if you need to be really portable, is going that small still viable?
So the question is, if I'm going really portable, is it better to have the barn door setup versus that? Those are all answers that are driven by your shooting environment. If it's windy outside, that thing's taking off like Mary Poppins. Okay? If it's not taking off like Mary Poppins, because I know somebody's going to say online, well, sandbag your stuff, idiot. Like the video we did in the sand dunes where the flash kept smashing on the ground. Can't tell you how many comments, you're so stupid, sandbag it. Maddie, did we plan that shoot?
Not at all.
We didn't plan any of the stuff we did. We just, like, hey, let's go to the sand dunes and shoot. People don't understand that about my videos sometimes. They really are last minute. I'm trying to show you guys how to do stuff last minute. Hey, this is what we have in our car. This is what we have with us. Because so many other shoots are planned. And that's just not the realistic side of photography. Again, coming from being an experienced wedding photographer, you have all these plans what you're going to do at a wedding, and then the wedding happens. Anybody, can anyone relate with that? You have all these plans, you're going to do this amazing couple shoot, you have 45 minutes, then it ends up being 5. You got to figure it out. That's just the reality of photography. Again, trying to give real world advice out there. So when people tell me, oh, I'm going to do this or that, all right, you go do that and tell me how it happens. Because once you've done 300 weddings, you know it's a little bit different out there. Okay, so yeah, so taking this out in the Great Sand Dunes, this would have hit the ground 200 times. Probably would have broke it. I did break that flash, by the way. Okay, this would have been much better out there. Much better for that purpose. Where's this going to be better? This is going to be better in a darker environment. See, the darker the environment, the more we need to diffuse the light. And please understand this, because this is something that comes up every time I release a video with LED lighting. When I put up my settings, the mistake that some folks who are still learning make is they say, wow, you shot that at 2000 ISO, that must not be a powerful light. That's just completely wrong. How should we set our exposure when we're working with any light? What's the first thing we do? Set the ambient, right? See, because if I just set a shot right now, see, Maddie's standing there. Let's just presume there's a nice pretty backdrop in the back, which as of right now there is not. There's Maddie, but then there's Blob. There's a water bottle behind her, okay? But if I take a picture of this, and I set my light for her and my exposure, my camera for her, what happens to the background?
Disappear.
It's black. Now, if you want to take a black shot where it's black and blacked out in the background, that's fine. That's how you do it. Most of the time, that's not why we shoot. Most of the time, we want that bokeh, we want the color. Like, did you see, obviously you saw that. Do you remember that last shot of the video where it's very colorful, all those colors? That's how you do it. So when I went to that rooftop, first thing I did is I take a landscape shot. And then I just add the model. It's just like adding ingredients. I add the model, and then this is as difficult as it gets. I take it back, and then I just go, oh, that looks about right. Boom. Take a shot. I have the benefit of shooting with Sony, so I can see before I take it. It's going to be great. Less bad shots, more money. Less bad shots, less editing time. Less editing time, more marketing time. Photographers, a lot of photographers do not think that way. Do not think that way. I just did a workshop and I fielded a lot of questions, and when talking with the folks at the workshop, it took them a while to wrap their heads around it. And I'm like, why would you do that? It's a waste of time. Oh, just because. Does that pay you back any money? No, then don't do it. If it doesn't pay you back with, it's going to improve your portfolio, teach you something, and or pay you money, do not do it. Make sure that every single thing that you do with your photography endeavor has an ROI. Every single thing. If you do that, you won't be moaning about no money. Okay? So now we take this, come up. Hi, Darren. Okay. So I'm looking at Maddie. So this first shot, get a little closer to the light for me. This is the first shot. This is exactly what some folks would do, where they're going to expose. The light's really pretty on your face, though. Okay, this happens every time. The projector's not nearly as bright as my camera screen, so I'm going to overexpose my shots, which makes me cry. But I'm going to overexpose it so you guys can see how I'm seeing it. Okay, so can you kill the house lights a little bit? Okay, so what we're going to do is look at this first shot. The first thing we're going to do is set it up, and I'm not going to look at my background. So I'm not getting much out of my background. There's not much there. There's Miss Maddie, and we're not going to see much of that background, okay? Just like that. See, I purposely framed it that way because if you look at on the screen, if you look at where it goes left, you really should see that rhodolite sign, that banner right there, right? So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to expose for the rhodolite. So now in my camera, the rhodolite is exposed. And now, hold that pose for me, Mad. I'm going to pull the light back. Okay, so this is what I'm going to start to pull out, right? See what I mean? That's what we're going to do. That's when we start creating dynamic shots. Maddie, we haven't shot for about 5 months, so I'm probably going to be tempted to shoot her. Now, what I want to show you guys is another one of my favorite tools. All right, Aspen, come on up, honey. And my brother, come on up. Okay, we're going to take the Anova Pro 2. Poor dude, he woke up over there. We're going to take this. Hold on to that. Aspen will hold one side, you'll hold the other. Okay. I'm going to show you guys the value of diffusion. And the value of diffusion is going to apply, this would be the same way you guys would even use this with the sun. Okay? take this. Yeah, remove some of the light stands would be great. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a shot. We're going to turn the Neo 2 off or face it the other way. Okay. Now, Maddie, take 3 steps back, hon. Okay, perfect. So that light is really hard on her, okay, because it's overexposed. So we're going to look at this. By the way, I'm shooting with the A9 right now. Okay, so you're going to see that that shot's way overexposed on her. Okay. What we're going to do is hold the diffuser. Perfect. Now I want you to put it right against the light. Okay. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys a succession of shots and how you should use diffusion. Okay. So we're going to look at the shots here of Maddie. Okay. And just how much that's cut. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring that diffuser closer to her. Now for the folks watching in live, watch the process of it. Let me bring this light forward so you guys can, well, keep going towards her. Keep going. Do you see how that light starts to wrap around her head? Let's do it again. Go back. Seriously, guys, this is one of the most important things about lighting. Watch this side of her face, okay? Get closer to her. Isn't that crazy how this light starts to wrap around? When they talk about wraparound light, this is what we're talking about, okay? And I'll show you the difference. So we have that last shot up there. That was with one layer of diffusion, okay? Now we're starting to get much more of a wraparound effect. Look at the catch light in her eyes, guys. Right here, hon. 1. Okay, take a step back. There we go. One more step back. I'm purposely moving with this light. It really should be facing towards her. I'm just trying to not face it towards the screen is what I'm trying to do. Okay, because then it'll black out, it'll wash out the screen. Okay, now turn the diffuser towards her. There we go, perfect. Now walk towards her. Okay, now come all the way back to the light. I want you guys to see this. Look at her face now. I'll take a picture of her face when that diffuser is right at her. Okay, now walk towards her. Okay, stop right there. Don't move, Maddie. Now look, what I want you guys to notice, look at the kind of the little pin drop of a catch light in her eye. Okay? Now her eyes are just ridiculous. Isn't that crazy, the difference? How much it's softening her skin, lighting her eyes, increasing the size of the catch light. Bring your chin forward, come down, just like that. Look at you, Maddie, your reflection, your shadows in the back. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
It is cool, okay? Now what we're going to do is, who else wants to help? Perfect. My man. Okay. Bring that over. Pop that out. Now, I brought bigger stuff just for presentation purposes. You guys can certainly use something like this that's self-contained, meaning you don't have to have 2 people holding a diffuser with a big light. And let me show you that. You guys can move away real quick and move the light back. Who knows how to fold this? It's the most humiliating thing as a photographer if you can't do this. Okay? You got to know how to do that. That'll get you more brownie points than anything as a photographer. Okay, so now we'll bring the Neo 2 over. Okay, so again, now we bring this over. Okay, Darren, can you raise that up a little bit? Get it a little higher. Okay, so you take a C-stand out, light stand out, whatever. You put the light on top of it. And by the way, I use the EOS inside of this all the time as well. Okay? And because it's a swivel adapter on there with the umbrella, you can pivot this down just like you would any normal, I'll show you, any normal thing. Okay? Got that battery right down there. Okay, so back to what I was saying, guys. I can just look right at her, figure it out. Okay, bring the reflector over. Another huge benefit of LED lights, I don't have to guess where I put the reflector. You try to use this with the strobe, you're going to take a shot chimp, right? Now I can just see where it's going to hit, right? So that's without the reflector. Oh, yeah. Fighting with me over there. That's with the reflector, okay? Take a shot. Best investment you can make as a photographer, pay somebody $20 to hold a reflector. Really is.
I'm earning then, right?
Huh?
I'm earning then, am I?
No. It's an imaginary 20. Okay. You guys, it is so, and then to be candid, I just put the eye autofocus on the Sony and I get the shots at 1.4 straight away. Okay. Right here, honey. Turn your head this way. There you go. So I can just angle my light if I want to put a little bit more shadow on that side of her face. Come over here with the reflector for me, brother. There we go. Now I can look at where that light's going to hit. Come back. There we go. Bring it up just like that. Ooh, that's gorgeous. Don't move. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I want to add some rim light, okay? So we bring in some rim light. Where's an EOS? Aspen found this. Come on, hold this for me, Aspen. We found this. Aspen, what is this again?
It's the thing that goes at the bottom of the plant to catch water. At a gardening store.
She found this at a gardening store. She went out shopping yesterday and found me all these goodies. Okay, it just happens to fit right over the front of the EOS. Okay, so she was showing this to me last night and it's super cool. Okay. Now again, I know we're having some fun with some stuff here, but you see, I'm trying to show you guys, photography should be fun. You should be doing different things with it, okay? All right, Aspen, come hold this right here for me, please. Thank you. Now we're going to light up Miss Maddie's hair. Okay. That's beautiful. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to overexpose it. I hate to say those words. But you guys aren't seeing it the way I'm seeing it in my camera. 1, 2, 3. Go back again. Bring your arms down for me, please. Beautiful. There we go. Okay. So now we're illuminating her hair, right? Now, you may be somewhere and you say, well, I'd really like to get the wall. You may have 3 neos. You grab another neo, come over here, cast some light on the wall. Okay. Take off the diffuser because we don't need it for this. Now this is one area where the barn doors are very helpful. Having the barn doors available controls the light because you don't want to have that light spill. Okay. So now I pop that onto the back. Now I'm creating depth in my shots. I'm creating layers, different areas of exposure. I cannot tell you how much I hate overexposing shots. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful, Maddie. Come closer with the light, Aspen. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Do you guys see how easy it is to get shots? Is this helpful for you guys? Well, some of you, yeah, you're trying to see over the modifier. You're like, no, I can't see anything. Okay. Which one of these? Was it the red hat, Aspen? That was pretty cool. The pink one. Can you put it on there for me? Now we're going to pick up a sun hat. Maddie was just in Amsterdam, so this is perfect for the red light district. Come over here, Aspen. There you go. We'll cast a little red hue on her. Come a little closer, Aspen. Just like that. Beautiful. I think the main thing that I love, guys, about using these lights is that was pretty. There's no recycle time on the lights. I can shoot whatever I want. And if I was, that's interesting. I think the computer froze up. If I want to, I'll leave it to Capture One to fail us. If I want to continue, that's Darren's constant job. 3 years running is Capture One. If I want to continue to shoot and get shots, what do I keep saying? Time is money, right? Time is money. I'm inside of a bridal room. I don't have time for a Capture One failure. Okay? Capture One are great guys. I'm just teasing. But I don't have time for it. I don't have time for a light failure. I don't have time. Have you guys ever shot something and your camera goes out and that moment's gone? Your lighting goes out, you got to change batteries, memory card, whatever it is. Try doing that at a wedding. I was at one of my first weddings and the batteries failed on my flash because I didn't know how to use a flash, and I burned the batteries to death. And up in the battery compartment, literally burned my hands, right? I lost the moment. The grand entrance was happening, and I lost the moment. Rookie mistake. Hey, why are you sitting down? Come and help. All right. Come on, I need to see that pretty smile. All right. Let's try this. I'm just curious. We found... I can't say we, I didn't find this. Aspen found this is a
Dress.
This is a dress.
Yeah, it had a slip attached, and you cut the slip from that, and that's what you get.
She cut the slip out. She broke out or took out the picture that was with this, all from thrift stores, and we just put this up. Now I wanted to do this because this would mimic window light. This would mimic if you had like a curtain in front of your window, right? And it also goes to show you guys, you really can just get creative and do this stuff. You may walk into a bridal room. Think about it. If you walk into a bridal room and it's a really overcast and or rainy day and you are a natural light photographer, you're out of luck. If you want to mimic window light, throw that sun hat over there for me, please. Bring the light back though. Perfect. Okay, we bring this up, put the light through there. Okay, yep. Okay, well, I'll turn this one off just to give you guys a look as to what comes out of that. Okay. And again, what I really love is being able to change this color temperature. Right? Warm it up, cool it off, whatever I want to do. Okay? Bring it over. If you guys aren't getting out there and having fun and just breaking stuff and creating crap like this, you're missing out. That's part of the fun of photography. It really is. Stay there. I want you in the shot. Do you guys have Mr. Clean here? No? Well, you do right now. That's beautiful. It looks like you have a stalker behind you. Actually, Darren, turn the light on him. Turn that Neo 2 on him. That's classic.
Oh my god.
Yeah, do the shush again, and then we'll have... You should put your arm up like you're going to attack her. Classic. Thank you, guys. You can all sit down. Thank you, guys. Let's give them a round of applause.
I can't wrap it.
We turn the lights up, please. What I'm trying to show all of you is photography should be fun. And if you want to make money at photography, there's no excuse why you can't. There's no excuse. I'm legally handicapped. I'm missing 65-70% of my right hip socket. I have something called leg Perthes disease. I've had it since I was 7 years old. I had to learn to walk again when I was 11. I was immobile for 2 years. Because of that disease, it had a collateral effect on the rest of my body. I wore ankle braces on both of my ankles. So why am I this crazy guy? Why do I go to all these crazy places when I have legs that aren't the best? Because I'm going to use these things until they can't go. Drive it like you stole it, right? Seriously, drive it like you stole it. I have one life. I'm not going to live it full of regrets. I have one life. I'm going to live it. Truly. I mean that. I have one life, which is why I quit my job as a hotel executive, making a great amount of money with a great amount of security to do this. And I didn't quit when I was 20. I didn't start photography when I was 18 and I had all the time to screw up. I started photography when I was 30. With kids and a mortgage and a wife and all the above. I had to figure it out. But I wasn't going to live a life full of regret. I'm telling you it's possible. I'm living proof that it's possible. And I'm living proof that if you're sitting there wondering if you can do it, the answer is yes. But you have to go get it. I cannot stand behind these Rhodolite products any more firmly than I do. They are legit. I drop them. I do all the things that you're not supposed to do with them that break the warranties. Okay? Water is splashed on them. I've done all sorts of shenanigans with these lights. They are phenomenal. And the prices that they offer at Pinewood every year are legitimately the lowest prices you will get. Are we still live streaming? For the people at home, I will ask Rhodolite if they're doing specials for you at home. And if they're not, I will make them do it. Okay? With whatever persuasion power I have. Okay? But I want to save a little bit of time we don't have much time. I've saved really no time. But if you guys, I want to be able to answer any questions that you have about anything. But I want to thank Rhodolite for putting on this presentation. Let's thank them. Thank my assistant, Aspen. Thank Miss Maddie, the incomparable Miss Maddie. And my lover boy right there. Okay. And of course, Darren. So, Family Guy. So, what questions do you guys have?
We'll pass mics around so the live stream can hear it. So put on
Hello.
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 In a real world where, I mean, my world is, let's say you're doing some corporate stuff, right? So we don't have helpers, it's me and my lights and whatever I bring. And let's say you want to shoot at f8 and you don't want to shoot at 2000 ISO because we don't have the latest Sony whatchamacallit, and our Canon or whatever is better at 100 to 400. What then would, because all these shots are all beautifully, out of focus, 1.4, 1.6 at 2000 or 800, whatever, and you've got, 80th. But what if you need to shoot at f8 or f5.6 something? What can you recommend for those situations?
If you're going to shoot at anything like you would definitely need the EOS, not the Neo 2. That would be my recommendation. And then you just put the EOS up on a C-stand light stand and go to town.
At full whack?
Yeah.
Or in
Full
flash
whack.
mode or in full?
Yeah. Full walk.
Full whack.
Yeah, but full power. Yeah, you would
technical term.
Yeah, exactly. You just put it at full power and go for it. Just put a simple umbrella right in front of it, or one of these modifiers would work great too. They really would. I think what Rod said is true as well. Is that the frost has a really nice softening effect, but it doesn't cut the light as much. So if you need to go narrow down quite a bit, then that would be the direction I would take.
Do you ever shoot at anything other than anything higher than f2.8 or whatever it is?
I think it's a waste of a lens.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be a jerk. There's no way I'm going to spend $2,000 on a lens and shoot it at f8 because that's what cell phones do. No, I'm not trying to be a D-bag. You asked the question, I gave you the answer. To me, at f8, everything's in focus. It looks like a cell phone picture. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure you do beautiful work. I'm not demeaning you. I'm just saying.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. I'm just
wondering because it's because I shoot and I've got 1.4 lenses and
of course
whatever,
you do, yeah.
and I use them, but there are times when you might not want that depth of field because of the situation or because it's more than 3 or 4 people and you want their nose and eyes in focus and ears.
Absolutely.
That kind of, so you might go 5.6, whatever. I'm just thinking that,
absolutely.
To limit yourself.
When I do weddings, I'll if anything, that's a great question. When I do weddings, if there's a group shot, now if we're talking like rows of people, like a huge group shot.
Well, then use a cell phone because then you can't be anything, because if it's just like 20 people in a line, I just tell people to take it on their phone because that's not in any way exciting, is it? I don't shoot weddings for that reason because it's my idea of hell.
You're right. If I were to do, like if I'm doing a couple shoot and I want both of them in focus, sure, I'm going to shoot it at 2.8. But keep in mind, it's not only, and I know you know this, but it's not only your f-stop. This is for everyone. It's not only your f-stop. It's your width of your lens and how close you are to your subjects. So, a lot of the times I would get away with that at weddings by shooting with a 35mm lens. I put the 35mm 1.4 on there, and then I'd go to 2.8, and almost everything is in focus if they're relatively close to each other. That's how I get away with it. But me personally, I like that separation. And I understand what you're saying. Sometimes I'll do environmental portraiture, and they're like, hey, we want to see everything. I did a shoot like that in Alaska with the 11 millimeter Canon lens. But that's an f4. And it still gave me some separation. But yeah. And I have other Sony artisans who shoot at f8 too, so every time I say this, they give me crap for it. But I still say it to their face. But you get my point?
I get it.
Yeah,
Not
I'm sure you
necessarily
do.
agree, but I get it.
The world is full of artists. We just have to choose the path we take. Yep.
How weatherproof are these? Because sometimes I'm like at the seaside with like I did a maternity shoot and there was rain and wind, and then sometimes I'm on the rugby pitch and it's pouring with rain because this is the UK. Like, how weatherproof are they? How waterproof?
You're not going to want to get them pouring rain on them. They do have open ventilation. The Neos actually have full hurricane-proof weather jackets, though.
Sold.
Yeah. So the Neo 2s, you get they're made by. Are they still made by Porta-Brace or somebody else?
We make them now.
Oh, you make them now. So yeah, those covers, yeah, you can soak. I mean, you're not going to want to submerge it.
No.
But rain and anything else, yeah, it'll stand right up.
Okay, so that's the British summertime sorted then.
Well, they only made it because they're from Britain.
They come with 3 umbrellas then.
Yeah. What else, guys?
In relation to the previous question, by the way, where you asked about f8, so just for context, an EOS at 3 feet, ISO 400 is f15, ISO 200 f11. So could do that easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're photographing a wedding and you've got, say, 8 people in a line to take a photo of, and you've got to take it at the time.
Can you put a little closer to your mouth? I want to hear every succulent word out of your mouth.
So if you're at a wedding and you've got, say, 8 people, bride, groom, bridal party, and you've got to take the picture at the time of day that you've got to take it, and you haven't got a choice, and it is midday sun, and you've got terrible, terrible shadows, and you've got nowhere in the shade to go, what are you going to do?
Get out my diffuser.
Right. What, and diffuse and block the light going to the people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, truly, that's exactly what I would do. To me, that diffuser, you have no idea, that's as essential to me as a battery for my cameras. That never leaves me. Because I think that's why I mention it so much in my presentation. Cutting bad light is essential to great work.
Yeah.
Because again, what do? In that scenario, we get out a 600 watt second light and we fire. Those specular highlights from that midday sun are still there. We're just balancing some of the light out, but the specular highlights, that bad light, that harshness, that loss of detail is still going to exist, especially if they're sweating or whatever else.
So if you're putting people in the shade, you're going to be exposing for them in the shade, but you're blowing out the background, or how are you dealing with the background that's now bright that your diffuser can't block?
All depends. It depends on where your background is. Usually if you put somebody in the shade, you get to choose what your background is.
Yeah. You see, I only say this because I was at a golf course doing a wedding a few weeks back, and we literally, the sun was out and nobody knew what to do with themselves. Again, we're in the UK. And we had literally... So,
it's sunny.
Yeah, a big yellow thing. God knows what it was. So the only thing that I could do in that situation is either bracket different exposures.
Don't do that. Yep.
You see, and this is when it comes into then spending a lot more time afterwards.
Yeah, bracketing sucks.
Yeah, I know. It's not through want. It's not. It's a necessity because these shots have got to be taken at this time of day. And I'm just wondering what.
Oh,
the best
did you
way to
have any
handle it.
lights?
I had a few speed lights.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my white card up, so I was trying to get flash. I was trying to get catch lights.
Yeah. Again, first thing I do if there's a lot of sun, put up the diffuser, then add light.
Yeah. Okay.
It works like a charm. Again, it's what Hollywood would do. If Hollywood was filming that wedding, the first thing they would do is put up a diffuser.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why I keep telling people you cannot just add light. You got to cut the bad stuff.
So basically controlling light, really.
Yeah. You're being a creator versus just whatever God gives you. You're being
Because
a creator of your work. Yep.
Because if you're exposing for the background and you're putting people in the shade, then you are going to be getting silhouettes. But then you're reintroducing light for the shade.
Absolutely. It's
Right,
like that shot of It's like that shot where the model was in front of that huge sunset.
Mhm.
It's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, and like you say, you've got to be careful with the shadows going in the wrong directions because you've got a light source behind her, and you've got shadows going
Yep.
towards the
And
light
that's
source.
another big downfall of a big, huge light is it casts massive shadows.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
mean, it
thinking.
throws a shadow like there's nobody's business on the ground.
Mm.
And then photographers will tell you, and they're right, in that circumstance, you feather the light, which means you bring it down. But when you feather that light, your light pattern changes. And now you're not casting light down, you're casting light from up or to the side, which isn't as flattering. It's more even light.
Yeah,
There's no shadow to it.
yeah, because a lot of the stuff that I do, I composite. So I'd composite one light source from around a car or something like that, whatever I was lighting. But I need to try and, because the way that I'm progressing, I need to try and be able to do that in one shot because I'm at a wedding and I've only got that one shot to take.
Yeah, I would get the EOS and I would get a diffuser and I'd go to town.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yep.
Family portraiture.
Yes.
So in the room, in their house, I've got a Neo and a Neo 2.
Yep.
Is that going to be enough? I mean, I heard that you said the darker it gets, the more you should diffuse it.
Correct.
So given ambient light of an average room, a lounge, something like that.
See, I'm glad you brought that up. People make that mistake. See, as it gets darker, the power, when you're shooting in the middle of the day is when your rhodolite product should be at 100%. As soon as it gets darker, it's going to start creeping down. You got to match your rhodolite to your ambient to bring everything together. People really make that mistake. And then when they see me dialing it down, they're like, what are you doing? It's like when we've done videos and they're like, oh, well, like you were at ISO 2000 or ISO. I'm like, yeah, but the rhodolite was at 10%. See what I mean? So if I'm doing family portraiture, again, I do the EOS. Why? It's a wider spread of light.
I'm running to a budget. So
Well, then when I would get another Neo 2. But the Neo 2 is such a market improvement over just power-wise, flat, I mean, everything over the Neo 1. So if you're on a budget, I would get the Neo 2. I would get another Neo 2 just to increase your light spread and or be able to have a front and a fill light. And by the way, guys, for me personally, it's a lot easier to use a reflector for your fill light versus a secondary light. I think that's a lot better option. So if I have two lights, I have one key light and I use the second light for a rim light. And then my fill is always a reflector.
okay, thank you.
And if your family portrait's inside, you can get a light stand with a bracket, easily hold the light stand. If it's not outdoors, it's not going to move. Make sense?
Makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are
great.
you?
Fine, thank you. Great talk as always.
Thank you.
I've got a divisional Neo, which works brilliantly. And you mentioned diffusing light all the time. If you need to shut it down a third, especially in bright light or harsh light, midday, sun, etc., would it be wrong to start using filters on your lenses and glass?
Like neutral density filters?
Yeah.
The only problem with using neutral density filters is if you're using it in lieu of a light source, then you are removing any catch light. See, think about it. If all we do is a neutral density filter, we're not fixing any of the shadows or any of the lighting problems on the subject's face. All we're doing is reducing the overall exposure. So we're not fixing a problem. As when people talk about this stuff, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm like, they just don't get it. Because I see this stuff, and I know there's big channels that talk about this stuff online, and I'm like, y'all don't shoot much. Not trying to be a jerk, but I mean, what I said to you is the truth. You're not fixing a single problem other than your overall exposure. Neutral density filters are for landscape photography. They're so you can go outside, like I did for the eclipse shoot, and you can shoot a 30-second exposure, in the middle of the day. That's what neutral density filters are for. They're not for portraiture.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking more landscape than portrait.
Well, for landscape, yeah, all live long day. But if you're trying to fix lighting on your subject's face, you're not going to do that through portraiture, which I have seen channels present as an option, and it's not the best option, is the kindest way to put it.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, guys, thank you for coming. I'm going to stick around afterwards if you want to tell me how wrong I am. I'm more than open to listening to that. But no, I really appreciate all of you coming. It means the world to me. Again, thank you to my crew. Thank you to Rhodolite. Thank you to you guys at home for watching. And until next time, keep shooting, never give up on your dreams. I just love your smile. just lightens my heart. Find art gear that works for you, and remember, you only have one chance to get it right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
So, feel free to come and ask any questions. We've also got an option.